From the iShin Broadcast Studio, it's the Tool Time Podcast.
Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of the Tool Time Podcast. I'm Nadine Battah and I'm the editor of Tech Shop.
And I'm Eric Garbe, ASE Certified Master Technician.
And joining us today is...
My name is Yanick Leduc, and I'm the training manager for Schrader TPMS.
Yanick, hello, welcome. We are super excited to have you in studio today. For our viewers from Canada, Yanick is coming all the way from Montreal, and we are super happy to have you here, so thank you.
So we're going to do this session in French.
All right.
Bien sûr.
Oui, oui. That's super exciting, Yanick, and I think this is going to be a great conversation of all things TPMS solutions. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
Let's do it. So let's get started. Can you give us a little history on Schrader TPMS solutions?
Yes. Well, Schrader has been around for a long time. Before my time, it's 1844, so before cars were invented. And Schrader has been around for so long that people think that Schrader is just the name of the valve and not an actual company. But Schrader was the first one to make the valve. It's really in 1985 that TPMS started for Schrader. That's when they started to work on the TPMS technology. Obviously, we won the Corvette contract back in 1994. And ever since, it's been just consecutive events of we were the first to come into the market with the rubber snap-in valve attached to a TPMS sensor. In 2013, we were the first to bring the programmable sensor for technicians. And then in 2015, we got the only one SKU programmable. We were the first to brought in the 90-degree. And recently, 2020, we launched the Schrader Academy, free online training. And 2023, that's when we've launched the parallel programming for our sensors. So
very nice.
That's always a good thing.
That's a nice history right there. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah, history is fantastic. It's a great subject. And you throw in a little car history, it doesn't get any better than that. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Yanick, can you talk about some of the differences in the TPMS tools that you offer and how this can benefit technicians?
Yeah. So, TPMS is all wireless. So compared to any of the other sensors on your vehicle, you actually need to have a tool that can read the wireless transmission and in order to communicate with the sensor placed inside the tires. So you have those radio frequency analyzer in a certain way that will be able to send a trigger signal. So send a signal to the sensor in order for the sensor to respond. And then the analyzer will give you what's the pressure reading, what's the sensor ID. And there's a lot of tool available out there. Different tool, different brands, obviously. But the main focus is how does your tool can communicate well with the sensor, and do you have all the coverage? Is your tool able to communicate with every sensor from every vehicle?
Now, is there something that you may recommend for, say, somebody who's buying their first TPMS tool, or do you think that, is there a certain level, it's just, hey, let's just jump right in and go with this one?
Well, my colleague Tom puts it in a very clear way. If you have to reach out for your TPMS tool every day, if you're in front of your customer and you're reaching out just to check if you have coverage or to check what's the right part number, if you're reaching out for your tool to diagnose or to program sensor every day, strongly suggest that you get the S57 tool. Gives you all the features. It gives you some option like a thread adapter that you can connect to it to do a full tire, not just the sensor, but the full tire review in a certain way. It has all the database inside, so not only it will help you diagnose, but it's going to give you what's the OE part number, what's the Schrader aftermarket part number, does it cover with easy sensors, what's the relearn procedure, like the whole Bible is in there. If you're not reaching out to your tool every day and you're just, getting out your tool or selling the sensor once in a while, then ST1 or S41 definitely are I would say, entry-level tool. Gives you all the same coverage as the big tool, but it has a little less options with like a diagnose when you hook it up to an OBD port. It will be able to tell you what's the code, but it won't give you the full extraction of the data. It's not going to give you the full details of the diagnostics that when you hook it up. There's some differences like that, and this one is obviously a little cheaper than the S57.
Okay,
Very
awesome.
nice.
Fantastic.
So to expand more on the scan tool topic, how important is it to update your TPMS scan tool on a regular basis, would you say?
Very, very, very important. The software gets changed almost every day because there's new vehicle being added, but also if it's not just a question of coverage or having new vehicle, it's a question of sometimes you'll have the vehicle is already there, but you don't have all the other options as I was mentioning before. Right. Placard change, it's a very interesting feature that these tools will have. You might check on a certain day for a specific truck. You cannot do the placard change. You update your tool a few days later, and now the option is available on your tool. So it's additional features being added to the tool as you go along, even though the database of the coverage doesn't change. Of course, software update will fix any bugs that might comes in, but it also gonna give you features from the tool. Give you an example. Recently, we've launched a parallel programming for our sensors. Okay. So if you don't update your tool, you won't be able to take advantage of that new option.
Well, don't miss out on those updates, you guys.
That's for sure. Yeah, it's really important. Now, do these tools, will they tell you when an update is available, or is this something that you just need to kind of get in the habit of checking? Well,
that's interesting because these tools are connected to Wi-Fi. So if you do connect your tool to Wi-Fi, you will get a little it's not like a pop-up on your phone. It's a tiny little icon on the top of the screen that will give you a reminder saying, okay, you can update your tool. You can do the full update on Wi-Fi or connect it on a computer to do the Wi-Fi. Okay. But if it's not connected to Wi-Fi, what we recommend is connect the tool to your computer at least once a month.
Okay.
To make sure that it doesn't make sure it does need an update. If it doesn't need an update on the computer, it's the first message is going to come up. Your tool is up to date. You don't need to click on the update button.
I'm curious, is there like a median time frame for how long these updates usually take to download, or does it really vary by each one?
It depends on how long you have not updated your tool,
Right.
The database that needs to be downloaded, the number of sensor compatible with the tool. So it varies. This one, that's a very good question, by the way.
Thank you.
The S57, it's an unlock tool. So even though it has a Schrader name on it, it can program like I think it's like 30 different brands of sensors. Wow. So it's not locked to work only with sensors. Okay. But because of that, when you update it, it does take a little longer than if you took the ST1, which programs only easy sensors. This one will take less time to update.
Awesome. I like that feature of being on Wi-Fi and just having a little indicator to let you know, hey, there's something new out there.
Absolutely.
Really kind of keep you on
You
the
need
ball.
a strong Wi-Fi.
I was just thinking that in my head. I was like, you better hope that Wi-Fi is strong.
Because I don't know about you, but at my house, it's not good. So every time I hit the update, and then in the middle, and then, oops, it loses a few data. I need to start all over again. So,
all right, notes to selves. Make sure you check the Wi-Fi connection before you hit update.
That's awesome. So talking about sensors, I see that you offer an EZ sensor. And what's the difference between your EZ sensors and, say, for example, the OE sensor?
The OE sensor, well, Schrader has a 50 more than 50% market share on the OE platform. So if you take a Ford or a GM, you're looking at the OE sensor, it's going to be a Schrader sensor inside that tire. And then the easy sensor, if we're looking at an OER sensor, OE replacement sensor, so from the moment that the OE sensor is a Schrader sensor, whatever installer buys as an OE replacement is the exact same thing we sell to a dealership.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
It will have a different part number.
Very cool.
Exact. So OE replacement is really the exact same thing, fit, form, and function that you'll find from an OE sensor. The easy sensor is different. This one is programmable. So
Okay.
when you get the sensor brand new, straight out of the box, it doesn't have anything. It's blank. You need to program it with the TPMS programming tool.
Okay.
So the obvious advantage is if you, for a shop that works only with OE replacement sensor, they would need to keep in stock like 200, 300 different part numbers in order to be able to service any vehicle that comes in. With the easy sensor, you only need to keep in stock one part number, but it needs to be programmed before you install it. You need to program it. You select the make, model, and year on your tool, program the sensor. It's like updating. It's like if your tool is uploading the communication protocol between the sensor and the vehicle through LF. Again, it's all wireless. And then once it's programmed, the sensor will behave just like an OE sensor, and you're ready to install it in a tire.
That's awesome. Is that something that is that sensor, is that programmable for, say, almost every vehicle out there? Or
99%.
Okay.
99% of the vehicle in operation in North America.
That's awesome.
You'll have those, a few of them. The one that we never get to work on, like Lamborghinis,
Right, yeah.
and but even some Ferraris are compatible with the easy sensors. Yep.
That's awesome. So I guess they wouldn't
Excellent.
work on any of my cars then, right? Yeah,
Probably not, Eric.
Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
So shifting a little bit, what are some of the most recent advancements of TPMS technology that technicians may not be familiar with yet?
Good one. One thing it's not new. It's sensor mode. So that's nothing new. Sensor are always in a different mode. If you're driving, the sensor is in a active mode, and when you're parked for more than certain, I think it's 12 minutes, the sensor kind of falls asleep. That's
Right.
been around forever. But recently, we've started to see a very specific mode that needed to be, the sensor needed to be in a specific mode in order to relearn. Just to be a little bit more specific, when you program the sensor, you program your sensor to make it communicate with the car. But once you did that, you need to pair that new sensor with the car, just like you're pairing your phone to your car. You need to tell the car, hey, this is a new sensor, this is the new ID. And that's what's new. Since 2018, 19, we've started to see many vehicle who was, if you want the relearn to work, the sensor needs to be in park mode. Park mode is the sensor doesn't feel any rotation for more than 12 minutes. So some technician were just putting the sensor on and just moving right away to drive for 15 minutes for the relearn. Relearn never worked. You have to leave the car parked it's all in the tool. The process is specific on your tool. It says park mode 15 minutes and then drive for 15 minutes. That's what they need to follow. But a technician that, you know how it is.
Oh, yeah.
I know how it works. Absolutely. I did that in the past, and he just takes off and drive for half an hour, and it won't work. So what's wrong? You have to leave it parked before, and then you drive for 15 minutes. So that's sensor mode. That's quite new. The very new is definitely Bluetooth.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So all of these sensors that I have here, or all of the sensors that we see on the market today, are all radio frequency, low frequency, 315 or 433 megahertz. Since 2020, we started to see some Bluetooth sensors. Tesla, for example, not to name it, Tesla came into the market, very first Model Y, and it changes everything. The communication can be bidirectional between the sensor and the car.
Right.
And it's not just one-way communication. There's so much more data that can be transferred from the sensor to the vehicle. It can be updated through the tire. There's so much more that can be done with Bluetooth. And we already know that there's other car manufacturer that will be switching to Bluetooth in the coming years. Yep.
That's fascinating technology, and it's great to know that you've got a tool you can rely on to tell us that as a technician, because I learned some things here today that I didn't know, and again, I would be one of those techs out there pulling my hair out because you got done and you went down the road and why isn't this working? But in this case, you rely on a tool, tells you what you need to do, and that's awesome. Yeah,
the relearn procedure we're always banging on the head of banging on the nails, saying you need to always check the procedure on the tool, because even though a specific make will always use the same type of relearn, there's always these oddball here and there where this one needs a specific key entry or a specific sequence you need to do with the buttons of relearn on your dash before the car gets into relearn mode.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great stuff. Great to know for sure. TPMS retrofit kits. I see you offer some, and these are really getting popular. Can you talk a little bit about your retrofit kits, and what are some of the popular applications for them?
Popular application, it's definitely for classic cars and off-roads. A little bit more on classic cars, I would say. One of the retrofit kit, you don't have the light on your dash, obviously, with a classic car. So we'll provide the 4 sensors to install into the tires, and there's a separate display that you just put on top of your dash. The good thing is it's a solar-powered display.
Okay.
So you don't need to start, dismounting your dash to bring some cables out and
that's awesome.
Attach everything. And the classic car, I would say, community loves that, because you don't need to start pulling out wires. It's something that can be easily just put into the glove box when you're putting your car on the show. You don't want to have that new technology mixed with your car, so they just put that in the glove box and it doesn't show. And with the price of tires, the price of white,
raised white leather tires,
or the really like the 50 or 60 car with the white wall tire, they're pretty expensive. So classic car community definitely, they love that retrofit kit. They put on there, making sure that they're getting the most out of these tires. On the off-road side, it's they're lowering the pressure on the tire to get maximum grip. And with that, with the separate display, you can actually customize what's the plaque or pressure. If you want your tire to always run at, let's say, 28, which would be under the recommended pressure for any vehicle, but you want it to press at 28 for PSI to get your maximum grip, you can do that setting. You can take your display and set it to 28. So the moment that you hit something sharp that punctures the tire and gets to deflate lower than that, then the display will just flash you, oh, something is wrong with one of the tires.
That's awesome. Very, very cool.
Yeah. You said something about sharp, and I'm thinking about these Ohio potholes that I'm like, we know all too well about something sharp in the road. So that is fantastic, and I love, just like the the history behind it all and like the white wall tires and just hearing about all of that. It's very cool to see that there's still an interest and that you guys are still catering to those people with those interests.
But and it can make your classic car so much more enjoyable, because right now you're always thinking, I want to get it out, I need to check the tire pressure and things like, what I mean? It's just that even if it's only every week or a couple weeks, you jump in it on a nice day and hey, the
Added
tire
boost of
pressure is
security.
perfect. Yeah,
For sure.
that's awesome.
And not only that, you can take your car out just once in a while, but you'll check your pressure before you leave. It doesn't gonna check the pressure while you're driving.
Yeah.
So with that retrofit kit, with TPMS, that's all giving you that notification if something happens while you drive.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So what's one of the most common TPMS mistakes that you see in the field, you would say?
TPMS PreCheck. So test before you touch, or TPMS PreCheck, whatever you want to call it. It's all the part where we want to make sure that you don't have, before you put the car on the lift, you want to have a visual inspection of your valve, either metal or rubber, because the minute you start pulling on it, the minute you start playing with it, you might create a leak, you might create a crack. Damage the sensor. There's some valves, some shops that are so afraid to touch tires with TPMS that they won't touch it. So you have the car with second or third set of tire, but it's still the original sensor. That valve stem is not made to last that long. It has to be serviced. So chances are it's corroded all over. You're just trying to take that valve cap off with two fingers and everything just cracks in your hand, and then you're ending up with a problem, and you know how it is. It wasn't like that when I brought my car in, so who's responsible now?
What did you do to my car?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the visual inspection of the valve from outside the tire, and recently, I would say in the last 5 years, we're starting to see a lot more qualifiers. What I mean by qualifiers is you'll have your make, model, and year, and then trim level. Like when you go to auto parts, what's your engine? Is it a 5.7 or a 4.3, whatever? So there are some occasion where, even though it's the same make, model, and year, depending on the trim level, depending on the engine, the sensor might be different from one trim level to another. What that creates is, and the example I always give is good customer of us, a good tire point of sales in Canada. He called me angry because it was the big boss car, and it says your sensor doesn't work. And I'm looking. I just looked at my tool, and I say, okay, Porsche, Panamera. Well, did you notice that there's two of them? Porsche, Panamera.
Okay.
One says 315 megahertz, the other one says 433. Which one is it? He said, I don't know. Well, you need to check that before you program a new sensor. You need to check. You need to read whatever was there before, because you can't tell what's the frequency just by looking at the tires. Right?
Yeah.
So always test your sensor and write down whatever qualifier it might be.
Okay.
So you know which one to choose when you want to program a new one.
That's a theme that we're pushing heavily in print right now, is utilize the technology that is being given to you. I know it can be scary in the beginning, and you're, like you mentioned earlier, a lot of technicians are used to doing it a certain way, so maybe there's a little bit of, anticipation of what could happen wrong. Nobody wants a comeback. So I think definitely just reiterating the fact that the technology is there. It's okay to be a little scared in the beginning, but there are resources out there to teach you how to use them correctly and properly.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing that I've seen that a lot of technicians are doing with their TPMS tools, as you mentioned, kind of as initial inspection, they might just walk around and just to get an ID from each one and see what position it knows on the car, because a lot of times maybe a car's had a tire rotation in the past and now they're in the wrong position, and it gives you an additional opportunity for service and just for having a really complete inspection of a customer's vehicle. You can say, hey, here's exactly what we found. So, I mean, it's a really nice tool for more than just when you're doing a service.
With the Wi-Fi connectivity I was telling you about, when you're scanning that car from a computer connected on your same Wi-Fi, you can print out a report and hand it over to your customer saying that's your sensor, that's your TPMS health check for your car today.
That's awesome.
And it gives you all the reading, all the IDs. That's a feature that is underused in the market today.
For
Such
sure.
a useful tool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you talked some early on, you mentioned the Schrader Academy. Can you tell us all about that?
Yeah, Schrader Academy is free.
Ooh.
It's free.
Everyone loves free.
It's free. It's an online training, 5 modules in all. So it's online. You can access it anytime, anywhere. We're not trying to sell you anything. It's really the perfect place to start. It's a perfect introduction or a very good refresher for someone that already knows a little bit about TPMS. And a perfect refresher, just stuff like how to mount and dismount your tire without breaking the sensor. How does it work? Where is it located? How to scan, all that. So it's the perfect tool, and it's free. Did I say it's free? It's free.
Free, free. We love
Doesn't
it.
get any better than that.
It does not. Yanick, this was such a fantastic conversation. I feel like I definitely learned a lot. I just love how much history you guys have and how involved you guys have been. And, it's very exciting, and I can't wait to see, what more you guys have in store for the industry. It's very, very exciting.
Absolutely. This has been fantastic. We really appreciate it. This is just really exciting stuff. Yeah, I know I'm getting ready to go sign up for Schrader Academy. I'm going to take advantage of that.
You get a little
It is free.
certificate at the end.
Oh, and you get a certificate. I like those on my wall.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Very nice. That's awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us for another episode of the Tool Time Podcast. We'll see you again soon.